Well, hi everyone, welcome back to the show at Pushing the Limits. It's fantastic to have you back again. I am sitting with Te Whatarangi Dixon, all the way over in Rotorua. How are you doing, mate?
Good, thank you. Good, thank you.
Super excited to have you on the show. Really cool. We've connected through your father-in-law, who is a lovely man, Stephen, who I spoke for.
Great man.
Yeah, he is a great man. He is a lovely man. And he just said, you've got to talk to my son-in-law. He's so interesting. And I thought, yes, he is very interesting, and I want him on my show. So today everyone's going to hear a little bit about Te Whatarangi, and we're going to call him Whats from here on. And now, Te Whatarangi is you're what you call a neurophysio. You're just qualifying right now, sort of in the midst of finishing things up and getting into a new career and job. But one of the reasons I want to talk to you about that, but I also want to talk to you about, you've got an inspiring comeback story. Can you tell us a little bit about GBS? You've had GBS twice, and we've tried to pronounce it before, Guellain Barre Syndrome.
Yeah, Guillain-Barre Syndrome. Yeah.
Something like that.
Ugly word.
Yeah, it's a very big word. So we'll call it GBS. And can you explain what that is and your journey with this a little bit, and a little bit who you are for starters?
Yep. Okay, so my story basically starts from a little town called Te. So that's where I'm actually from, and my family is. And I grew up pretty much in the Bay Plenty. I think why people always think that my story is interesting is because Guillain-Barre Syndrome, or GBS as we call it, is 1 in 100,000 people, I think, contract it.
Wow, so you're special.
So it's a neurological condition, and then it basically attacks your peripheral nervous system. So it's quite similar to how I kind of describe it to people to fully understand, but getting into the technical kind of terms of things is it's similar to MS. MS attacks your central nervous system, however, and GBS attacks your peripheral nervous system.
Wow, okay, that's a really good analogy, because people get what that is.
Yeah, so they can present kind of similar, but there are differences. So I had a strain called AMSAN, which attacks basically your motor neurons and your sensory neurons. You can have different strains which attack just primarily your motor neurons or your sensory, or I think you got 5 different strands. I can't remember specifically about each one, but
you had those two.
Yeah, I had AMSAN, so it attacked my motor neurons and my sensory neurons, but the potential for it to recover is higher because you have a special cell called Schwann cells in your peripheral nervous system, and they can regenerate over time. So that's why if I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, but basically if you had GBS, and you were able to stop it from progressing to possibly even, it can be fatal.
Wow.
But if the interventions in hospital are placed on you, I think within 3 to 4 weeks until GBS starts to kind of overtake your body, your likelihood of recovering is quite high.
Wow. Okay.
But post 4 weeks, and you haven't had an intervention with they call it immunoglobulin therapy or plasma phesis, where they basically take out your white blood cells and replace it with others.
Wow.
So basically, your ability to recover is a lot higher with your peripheral nervous system, because your central nervous system are made out of oligodendrites, and that's what their makeup are. And once they're damaged, they don't repair.
Wow.
So if you think about a motorway system, once you've got
it's your major.
It's your major highway. So if one road's basically destroyed, it'll never be recovered. You'll be able to actually try and tap into other areas and go off-road and then come back on.
Wow.
But once you've kind of destroyed that part of the road, it will never recover.
Wow.
Whereas Guillain-Barre syndrome, once that Schwann cell is basically damaged, if it was to be fully damaged, its ability to regenerate is higher.
It's higher. So swan, as in the bird swan?
Yeah, so spelled Schwann. So
Swan. S-C-H.
S-C-W-H.
S-C-W-H. Yep. Okay, so that's a German word for swan. Yeah. Okay, so how did it manifest itself in your body? So you've got luckily not the central nervous system one, but more the peripheral. How did that sort of manifest, and what were the symptoms?
Okay, so for me in 2014, mine started off. Oh, the thing is, they don't actually fully understand why it happened or like what actually causes
So
it.
bacteria, virus, we don't.
Yeah, but they understand
know.
what happens to you once it starts, once it begins to happen. So for me, how they described it was I basically got a gastrointestinal bug basically a month before GBS kind of started to
So could have been related.
take over my body. Yeah. So
Yep.
what they perceive is what happens. It's an autoimmune disease. So I had this gastrointestinal infection, and I recovered from that. But however, what happens? So as you obviously when you get sick, you build up your immune cell or your immune system starts to kick in, and you build
antibodies,
killer T cells eventually.
Yep.
So you have your B cells to get your killer T cells, and then eventually you'll have recessive T cells to actually die down the killer T cells because they've already destroyed the bug.
Yep.
What's happened is in my immune system, my recessive T cells to actually hinder and stop the killer T cells from producing and actually start to generate around the body.
Yep.
They didn't produce. They didn't actually start.
They didn't kick in. So your immune system.
So my immune system had all these killer T cells floating around. And then I just got another random cold bug about a month later. And because you had these killer T cells still floating around in my body.
Yeah, it just went.
I'm talking in kind of lay terms ways to help try and fully understand.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, and so basically what's happened is my immune system has decided they've got this new bug. These killer T cells are floating around, have no idea what to do with this new bug. And all of a sudden have started to just manipulate itself and then attack my peripheral nervous system. So my Schwann cells.
Sort of a classic autoimmune, shoot all the goodies and the baddies at the same time.
Yeah. So
response.
My immune system starts to attack my own body.
Yep.
Essentially.
Yep. Yeah, and so you don't know whether it's come from those that gastrointestinal thing or not, but quite likely that that's caused it and caused this reaction in the body.
Yep. And obviously when you're sick, obviously you get increased inflammation, which means it increases your immune system.
Yeah.
And then so it just hits you like as if you're standing in front of a train. And so basically how mine started was I just started getting pins and needles in my peripheral, like basically in my hands and my feet.
Yeah.
And it slowly I started basically just getting pins and needles, and it started gradually kind of coming up my arm, up my legs.
Whoa.
And then I started losing, so my sensory kind of went away first. So started losing sensation, and then basically as it came up through my feet and into my ankles, we have a thing called proprioception.
Yeah.
And that basically helps you understand, joints understand where you are in relation to space.
Yes.
And that started to dissipate and actually kind of disappear for me. And so I started losing balance.
Yep.
There wasn't anything wrong with my brain. It's just that I couldn't get the right signals from
the feet and from the
weight-bearing,
hands and
my weight-bearing joints to my brain to understand and tell my body where I was.
I had that with mum, but from a brain injury.
Yeah.
And so she didn't know who she was or where she stopped and where the world started.
Yeah, your spatial awareness goes.
It's hard to explain that to people what that is. Yeah.
So this all just started happening. I didn't know why it was happening. It just randomly came on. So I started losing sensation, and then eventually started losing weakness in my hands. And I just knew something was wrong. I went to the doctors the first time when I started getting pins and needles.
Yep.
Actually sent me to a physio, thinking that I had some form of nerve issue in my lower back or something.
Yeah.
Because at the time I had an injury in my lower back.
Yep.
So sent me there. Basically, nothing happened. A week later, started getting worse. Went back to my GP. He didn't know what was happening, obviously because his GP and I had signs of symptoms that kind of led on to possibly being meningitis as well.
Yeah.
So he sent me into hospital straight away, basically after their next visit. So this is 2 weeks after it sort of started happening.
Shoot.
And obviously because he sent me in, diagnosing me with a hypothesis of possibly meningitis.
Yeah.
I was treated for meningitis when I got there.
So
I went in.
It wasn't.
So I went in, had my spinal tap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would do spinal tap generally for meningitis and GBS because they do present quite similar.
Yep.
If they think so, they're trying to cross all, dot all these I's, they cross all these T's. Went in, and then when I went into hospital, I started getting huge migraines.
Oh.
So I was getting migraines, and I was getting photophobia. So I couldn't actually open my eyes. The light would just penetrate and just give me huge headaches. So I went in, was presenting with, and that's even another sign of possibly meningitis, having photophobia and migraines. However, I didn't have a rash, so that was only probably one real symptom that you usually would get from meningitis. So I went in, had my spinal tap done, went for a CT scan, and then I was isolated, basically, because if I had meningitis, I could possibly spread it out. At this point, they still didn't know what I actually had. They were just going on, the signs and symptoms of me possibly having meningitis, hence the isolation, hence the spinal tap and CT scans.
Yep. Carry on. Mum's ringing in the middle of the podcast.
Oh, you're good.
She always does this. Everybody who listens to the podcast knows there's a weekly ring from Ma. So carry on, mate.
And then I was in there for a week. Nothing basically improved. So all the drugs that they're giving me throughout the time to help me try and beat meningitis weren't working. I was getting worse, and I started losing. What I didn't realize was that I was actually getting really weak.
Yep.
But I couldn't actually convey that to them because I started getting, I started losing I couldn't breathe, and I started, I had to be on a ventilation. I was in just so much pain. So I started getting hypersensitivity. So basically cold felt like hot, hot felt like cold. A pillow felt like it weighed a ton. I felt like I was kind of driving into the bed. So when I was just lying in the bed, I felt like I was getting pulled down by gravity.
So all of your senses and all of your things in your brain are just
went out of whack. So once you have nerve irritation or anything kind of going out of whack, everything just becomes imbalanced, and your brain cannot understand and it's trying to rebalance itself. And in that process, it's kind of it's actually being detrimental to your ability to kind of actually understand
perception of the world. So you just
because everything. So basically, if you need to bombard your nerves to actually understand, touch, smells, like every sort of sensation that you can basically think of. So
we take that for granted so much, that we know that this is something's touching my right hand, or I'm burning my left hand, or
and then basically third week in, I had an MRI, and then the neurologist was actually away at the time. So the neurologist said there was actually I was in Tauranga Hospital for this. He was away overseas on a sabbatical at another hospital, and so a neurologist from Palmerston North was coming up 2 or 3 times a week.
Yep.
So he came up, and he basically once they basically thought this is a meningitis, my sister-in-law actually found a possible link to being something more neurological, because I had this window of opportunity where I actually felt, everything felt kind of normal a little bit for a time. And I asked Guellain to kind of do some assessments on me, who's my sister-in-law. She's now a registrar now at Auckland Hospital.
Wow.
And she was a 5th-year medical student at the time.
Yep.
And she just done some assessments on me, and she found my reflexes weren't there. My sensation was basically gone.
Yep.
And she just went straight to my consultant. My consultant got the neurologist to come in. The neurologist basically looked at me straight away, and he knew straight away that I had GBS.
Yeah, exactly.
And so basically I went straight into HDU. I was doing spirometries to actually check how my lung capacity was going.
Yeah.
This at the time I was still having migraines. They organised for me to go for an MRI. Just to see what's happening in my body inflammation-wise, and all of my CRP scans were just through the roof. White blood cell counts were through the roof.
Yeah, so they knew that your
they knew I was sick, but they didn't know what was happening.
Pinpoint it.
And obviously because it's so rare, you come across it every, I don't know, once
in your lifetime, maybe as a doctor.
So
okay, so now you're in there. They finally worked out that it is this thing. What sort of a battle did you have on your hands then?
I was in the battle basically to try and save my life.
Wow. So it was really.
So my lungs started to shut down. I immediately went down to about 50% capacity as soon as I went into HDU. I was intubated with mechanical ventilation.
So the full Monty, and you're still
full
conscious.
Monty, still conscious. So my brain's still there, and I'm just getting migraines and stuff. So I can still kind of, I can feel like, nothing's happening mentally. It's all just in my physical body.
Oh,
so everything is shutting down. I can't move. I started, basically I lost all control of, my bowels and whatnot as well.
Yeah,
so that was, like dependency wise, it was just everything went away.
So like a massive brain damage.
Yeah, effectively,
but you were all there.
To the brain, but it's just I'm all there. In. It's just my peripheral nervous system is shutting down.
Wow.
So this.
How old were you?
I was 23.
Wow.
I was 23 at the start of 2014, and so that all happened. I was intubated, and they basically started me on what they call immunoglobulin therapy, which is basically other people's antibodies. And that's about $1,500 a bottle, and I had about, I don't know, I think it was a course over 5 days, 3 bottles a day.
Wow.
So 3 times.
Trying to get rid of yours and overpower it with normal white blood cells.
Yeah. So basically trying to combat my immune system. So they're pumping in, white blood cells it's basically blood transfusion into my body to basically, it can't stop GBS. It can only slow the progress of it. Yep. So like I said before, there's that 4-week there's that month
window.
You need to that month window to try and stop it.
To get this immunoglobulin.
Possibly from being a fatal condition. So I was in the 3rd week, halfway through the 3rd week. So they just got it in.
Wow.
And, I already got to the stage where I was a vegetable. And basically I was just trying to save my life. So I was intubated, had immunoglobulin stuck to a wall, hours, days. And I was in hospital for about 3 months.
3 months.
In ICU for about a month and a half. And then I went up to just the general ward. So it was amazing. So once the immunoglobulin therapy, it's just a waiting game. You can't do much.
There's nothing else they can do. It's
nothing else you can do. You're just hoping that, me being a fit, young 23-year-old at the time, that was going to be an advantage to me.
Yes.
Which, thankfully it was.
It was, yeah.
And it's very rare for someone under the age of basically 50,
to get
40, 50 to get GBS.
Wow. Because your immune system have you got, I love diving into the body. Do you think you have a predisposition to an overreactive immune system? Have you ever thought about functional genomics and doing some testing along that lines to see what?
Yeah, I've always thought that. I've always thought about looking at basically my DNA because, but when I look at my
help
family,
with that shortly.
Look at my family, but I look at my family history. I've got none of that in my family though. I've got no kind of history of a neurological condition. We're the only thing we probably have in my family is Alzheimer's.
Okay.
We don't have cancer in our family. We don't have, really, what do you call it? Systemic kind of conditions. Not many of my family have died of heart attacks. I think 1.
Yeah. No thyroid, no autoimmune.
Thyroid, no autoimmune. We've got type 2 diabetes, but that's not genetic. That's just, your modifiable risk factors that you can change.
Yes, there is genetic factors.
Oh, there's genetic
as well.
Genetic
predispositions. Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, I'm just fascinated by functional genomics and looking at understanding why your immune system would kick into overdrive and actually cause. And is this likely to happen again? Not GBS. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But for other immune responses now here on in.
Yeah, I'll definitely be interested in looking at it.
It would be a
field of research that we can
I'm working with the DNA company, and I've had Dr. Mansour on this, so they've just opened their labs up again, and it will be a few months before I'm qualified, but can definitely connect you there if you want to have a look at that. I think it's something that everybody should do once in their life anyway, because what your DNA is. It's fantastic to understand
It can
you know.
definitely help you plan and prepare for your future too.
Exactly. Not
Especially as you,
fatalistically, but just
yeah, but
preparation.
just preparation wise, you'll to understand what's happened, like what could possibly happen for you, and what
Yeah,
things
what
you can
areas you've
change
got.
it, what you can change in regards to modifying your lifestyle to be able to guide you in
Exactly.
the right way and enjoy your your quality of life to the full extent.
And even like things like, and this is getting a bit off topic, but what medications you might interact with in a bad way, or what your detox pathways are like. So do you need to be super vigilant when it comes to outside toxins, that type of thing,
Yeah.
or your hormone pathways, or everything like that is involved. So it's pretty good information to have. Is like, I reckon it should be like your passport, so you have it, you know it, and
Yeah.
then you take the interventions to stop problems. But back to your story. So you're fighting for your life now, and you've gotten through that really bad, horrific stage.
Yep.
How were you mentally coping with this as a 23-year-old when you started to come back to life, if you like? What you'd been through, this traumatic, horrific experience. How have you dealt with that?
I'm a very optimistic person. Just my personality, I have a very optimistic outlook and just in life in general.
Yep.
It was really tough. So it did challenge me a lot. I wish I knew my wife back then.
Yeah, it would have been easier. You reckon?
It would have definitely been easier. Just being 23, and I'm very much a mama's boy.
Yeah,
I'll admit that.
absolutely nothing wrong with that.
And my mum at the time, after raising my brother, my sister, and I, her entire life as a single mother.
Wow. Hats off.
Yeah, hats off to her. Oh, I owe her a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
It's a give or take.
Everything.
She was in Spain, so she decided, how good all of us have all grown up. We're living our lives. We're starting our new careers, and looking, pushing on in our own adult lives. She took this opportunity, to actually just enjoy this and go off on a random sabbatical for 6-7 months over in Spain.
Yep.
Left my stepdad.
Yeah. Poor
left
bugger.
my stepdad home. She said, "I'm going to Spain. I'm going to go off and have a holiday."
See you later.
And she was basically 2 months in.
Wow.
Into a trip over there, and then this happened.
Oh, great. You wrecked mum's trip as well.
I tried. We rang basically tried to ring every night through. It used to be called Viber. The original kind of.
Yep. Communication.
FaceTime, I guess.
Yep.
And I basically said to her every single time, as hard as it was to me just to say on the phone, was, I kept on saying to her, "Mum, don't come back. I'm going to beat this."
Yep.
I'm not going to.
Brave.
I'm not going to die. As much as I probably cried a lot of the time thinking that I was going to die.
Yeah. Well, hell yeah.
Yeah.
How is that to face your own mortality, though? I mean, at that ridiculously young age. How do you see that now? What's your relationship with it now? It's a pretty hard thing to bloody.
It is. It's. I think I look at it more as. I don't even look at it as a fear concept. I probably look at it as an opportunity to kind of, like I said, like before we even started the podcast, it's just an opportunity to actually still learn. Even though I was going through this, it was like, if I get through this, what am I going to learn from this?
Yeah.
So that's how I actually probably got me through a lot of it. Was I'm not going to let this beat me. So what can I do with my life? If I, not if I was going to, it's like, it was basically, I was trying to tell myself that I wasn't going to, but, facing that possible, my mortality, it was, I had my down moments. Sometimes you're probably just thinking about wanting just to give up because it was just so, it was quite hard. And,
so
seeing my family, my family just, and probably because we've definitely been, a Maori, being from a Maori family, my mum overseas, I always had someone next to me. So my aunties, my uncles, my brothers, my sisters, my dad, they all kind of took their time out of their days to kind of one at a time go on a roster and just be there 24/7 basically with me.
Wonderful. Isn't it so important to have that support?
Yeah, and you know, like I'm a very holistic kind of person, and being from Maori background, we have a thing called, like mana.
Yeah,
so mana can be
absolutely.
instilled basically in anything, so a person, an object, or any inanimate kind of thing. But by them being there, they're actually projecting their mana onto me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
If I didn't have them, I don't know if I would even be here.
Being beside your loved ones and walking with them in their dark times is just so crucial. Like it
so
can't be
I'm a very family orientated person. So
tell that. And you got a good family.
Yeah, so if I didn't have them beside me, I don't think I definitely would not have probably made it on my own.
Yeah.
Because they were actually my motivation to actually
fight
get through it and fight.
Because you need to fight, You need to fight when you're in deep, deep trouble, and to find that fight when you're in pain and terror and fear and all the rest of it.
And the reason probably why I say I wish I had my wife at that time was because she's actually given me that strength and power to actually understand what self-reflection is.
Yes.
So I never actually fully understood it and actually comprehended it. So I was obviously, me being a 23-year-old, I used to just think of the physical aspects of life.
Yeah.
And I never really considered, how impactful the mental side of things, the emotional side of things, and the spiritual kind of side of things. But it's actually what she really helped me with is actually trying to understand what my identity is.
Wow.
So I wish because if I had that back then as well, I definitely would fully understand, and actually I would have been in a hell of a lot better position to actually get through without ever even thinking or considering those kind of things.
Yeah.
I would consider and think about them, but it wouldn't, consume me.
Yep. Yep.
If that makes sense. So I'm a big believer in if you have a strong identity, even cultural identity, if you understand who you are, it gets you through. So, and that's, being honest to yourself, being even honest to others, and just taking it one step at a time. It's not going to, you need to fully appreciate and understand that sometimes you do need that time to just kind of look at yourself and understand who you are. Because if you don't, then you struggle.
So this has brought you wisdom beyond your years, really, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But this is
so that's my big
yeah.
I guess.
So okay, so you're in the rehab now for over a year, trying to come back from this thing. And what was that battle like? Like, was it like coming back from a stroke or a brain injury? Was it like that now?
Yeah, so basically, it was really weird. So for me, I actually quite enjoyed it.
Well, I suppose you were at least up.
Yeah, so no, it was, obviously through I enjoyed the rehab, but the time that I was in the hospital, that was the tough part. So
yeah,
it wasn't until I probably got past that realization, that point where I knew I wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
Basically, once that fear of my own mortality had surpassed, I was, basically told me, I was like, I've been in it, and now all I have to do is put the work in.
Yep.
To be able to get myself from where I am right now, being dependent, and now becoming, my independent self again.
Wow. So you were like, I'm still alive, so I'm stoked.
Yeah,
don't think and I'm going to fight like crazy to get back.
That was. So
wow.
I never looked at it as being, I never looked at myself as being disabled ever.
Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes I maybe should have, because I know I probably pushed a lot of stress and harm on my family when I was going through it that first time. Because obviously, I think we forgot to mention that I got this last year as well.
Yeah. This is what we got to get to yet.
So that, I wish I probably was able to be honest. That's why I say, on basically be honest with my family, going through a last time, because I know how stressful it was for them to kind of see me in that position. Yeah. And all they wanted to do was just help me. Yeah. And all I would do was just kind of internalize and just keep it in myself and say, no, I just want to own this and do it myself.
Right.
But that was a very selfish thing. Like when I look back on it, it's a very selfish approach that I had on it. even though I know that got me through it, but that's because I was only ever thinking about the physical side of things.
Still, because you were young and not.
Yeah, I was young, and
for
me being a 23-year-old, the physical side of life was very,
everything.
very important for us.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And being a man, your masculinity gets challenged.
Totally.
And it was very, very hard to kind of get through that without ever feeling like I was burdening my family.
Yes, yeah.
So, and that way, when I look at it now, that was the wrong approach.
Yep.
But yeah, so basically, once I got past that point, that I wasn't going to die. I was in hospital until basically I took out the mechanical ventilation.
Yep.
And I started doing some form of physiotherapy in the hospital, and then they had organised for me to go to a place called Laura Ferguson.
Yes, I know. I tried to get mum in there, couldn't get her in.
Yeah, so I don't know where I got my funding from.
Yeah, somewhere.
Basically, I got it poofed out of nowhere, and then I was off to Laura Ferguson. So I was 3 months in hospital, and my rehab basically consisted of a lot of it was orientated around my goals and what I wanted to reach back to. However, when what I really enjoyed about Laura Ferguson, it's basically like a campus. Yep. So it's a rehabilitation campus, and it's for people that are under the age of 60. So it's not a retirement village. It's actually for people that want to be there. Yeah. Long term, some of them do have long term conditions, and some of them terminal to a certain extent. But they're all there for the purpose of wanting to try and get better.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I did try to get my mum in there. She was too old to get there, and we couldn't get funding and so on. Yeah, but it did feel like a place where you were going to actually do something. Because I must say, you're a neurophysio now, so we'll get to that shortly. But I must say, the physio care that we had in the hospital was nothing short of atrocious. Yeah. I could have done it in my sleep. I think they went there to eat their lunch. And it's pretty harsh, but that's how I felt.
And it's really hard when I think about that, because they are quite restricted.
Yeah, very.
And a lot of what they can provide. Me being going through placements and whatnot as well in hospitals, they all want to change how they approach things in the hospital. That's why they're trying to implement, good rehabilitation gyms and whatnot there as well to get more involved. But at the same time, it's really tough because the system is built around, you've got so many patients that you have to see on a ward, and you've got 10, 20, 30 minutes at the max with them at each given time.
And I must say, I must repair what I just said. The ones that came round to us on the ward during the acute phase were lovely, awesome. Yeah. When we were later put into the rehab with mum, I fought to get her back into the system to get, because they said at the beginning she's never going to do anything again. We're not going to bother, basically. Yep. And I fought, and after a year, I got her back in for 2 times a week, and that was atrocious. And it felt like a box ticking exercise. Yep. The ones on the ward were different. They were very passionate and really, really wanting to help. So, and this is no indictment on any one person or thing, but there was a systemic problem. There is a systemic problem with the way that the things are run, at least in our hospital, and the way that you are judged. I remember, and I don't want to take over the interview, but 6 weeks she had as a block of 2 times a week. And honestly, what she would do in that 6 weeks, I would have done in a day with her. The tests that they tried to put her through, she was intimidated. She felt like a schoolgirl, so she was not interacting with them because they were very judging her all the time, whether she should continue in the program. And at the very end of the program, they had a big panel where they all came in to decide your fate, whether you'd be considered to continue in the program. And they talked to me, not to her, who's sitting next to them, and says she's below the level of the worst dementia patient we've ever seen. She's never going to do anything, and this is a waste of time. And I turned to my mum and I said, well, how does that make you feel, mum? And she said, well, I was feeling quite empowered until I came in here. Now I feel totally, down. And they just looked at me, and then jaws dropped because I'd never heard her speak because they had never spoken to her as a intelligent person. And so she hadn't responded because she was intimidated by that medical setting. And I knew that she was in there, and I knew she had a, you know, stuff going on, and she was intelligent and she was coming back. And I believed in her, and I just said to them, you can stick your program up there somewhere, and I'm going to bring my mum back. And I did. From that point on, I was like, right, there is no help. I will go and do this for myself. And that's, you know, that's just that particular bunch of people in one particular place, and that's not an indictment on them all. But that was quite sad. And then I had a wonderful neurophysio. So let's get on to your neurophysio, because you've gone down this path now. After going through this. Was that the reason that you went and studied neurophysiology or physiotherapy?
Yeah, it definitely swung my my decision to go that way.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually through. So I had an amazing neurophysio when I was at Laura Ferguson, and she was the reason why I decided to go down this path. So
cool.
You know, it was just, she just knew how to push me in the right ways, and I wanted to do that for other people. And even when I was at Laura Ferguson, I met so many amazing, you know, people that never asked you know, to have a stroke, to have MS, to have Huntington's disease, to have Parkinson's. You know, they never asked for that, and just to be able to have, it's just you know, the thing I think about the most is people. There's dependent, you know, what if you lose your independence, I feel that's the huge, like the biggest thing, like as a human, you don't really like it. It's that old cliche of, you know, you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Yeah.
And so basically to help somebody that is dependent become independent again, that's the most rewarding thing that I could even think of for me.
Absolutely agree with you.
So when people ask me why I wanted to become a physio, I say there's three things. So one is I knew I always wanted to help people, and from a health perspective. And originally I actually wanted to become a doctor and do medicine. So that leads on to my second reason, is the reason why I chose to do physio, and that's purely because I probably had Heather Gordon. She is amazing. I'm gonna throw her name out there because she is amazing.
Thanks, Heather.
She made me understand that being a physiotherapist, you just were able to have and this natural and therapeutic relationship that you just can't have as a doctor, as, you know, as an allied health profession. Your ability to be able to have this real deep connection with your patients was like, that's the reason why I really got back to where I am today.
Wow.
Physically.
Love that.
Because of that. So
because you had the time to invest in you.
Yeah, I'm a very people person. So having that intensive kind of relationship with each other collectively, you know, having that shared goal of kind of getting to that shared place where they want to achieve is, you know, second to none.
It's a bond for life, really, isn't it? I can see how much you love and respect what she did for you, and how much that means. And
so
then
that's why it swung me to becoming a physiotherapist rather than a doctor.
The complete opposite of, like, I had a neurophysio too who came to our house afterwards, and he was wonderful. Yeah, you know, he gave me the belief that we could do this. He gave me the basic tools so that I could work every day with her, because I couldn't afford, obviously, everything. But he gave me the information that I could then put that into practice on a day by day basis.
A lot of it is really common sense. It's just being able to apply it in the right way.
And being able to break movements down. How do you teach someone to?
So I specifically look at it in three ways. You know, neurophysios, I think of it as you got function, strategy, and impairment. That's basically that's like my go-to for anything, basically. So, you know, what you want to achieve is function. You have strategies to achieve that function, but you have an impairment which affects the strategy to be able to perform the function.
Yes. Yep.
So obviously the goal is function, but what you have to do is specifically try and work on the impairment, and then effectively your strategy should try and improve, and then you'll start. That's how you progress to the next kind of thing, and then essentially what happens is you'll be able to perform that function again.
Yep.
So it's like a soap roast. Like I'm trying to simplify it, but that's how I try and approach things.
Yeah. No, that makes absolute sense to me.
Yeah, it's like three steps.
Yeah.
And there's a variety of ways of how you can integrate your treatment methods. So there's a variety of treatment methods that you can use, but that's the ultimate. That's the basis of it that I run by.
Wow, I'm going to bring Mum up to see you one day. Get some more tips. What's the next thing I can do with it?
So then basically, when I recovered, I decided to become a physiotherapist.
Wow.
So I enrolled into AET and started in 2016. Obviously, because I couldn't do it because 2015 had already started, because I recovered in February, and I just kind of wanted to give myself that other actual year where I just worked and just wanted to actually get back to normality. And then I decided to go on the intake in 2016. And AET is I should be an advertisement for them or something. I don't know.
They were good.
But, yeah, they're amazing. So I loved it. I loved being a part of that. The way our lecturers were, they all came from a clinical experience. They weren't heavily based on the theory. So they basically they pushed down our throats to be able to have a clinical reasoning and be able to think on our feet as practitioners and as clinicians. They want us to be clinicians. They don't want us to be
lab
bookworms and lab
dudes.
kind of things, and lab dudes and just writing research things out all the time.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, we're providing a service, and we want it to be based around real good quality service, not just anyone go on to Google and find out what this is and do this. Anyone can do that. We wanted to be able to, so they really enforced that kind of and encouraged that type of learning. So it was very practical.
Yep.
And I'm a very practical kind of person. And it's really weird, obviously when I was going through my rehab in 2014 and then learning and basically going through my physiotherapy degree, I look back on when I was doing my rehab and I could see all the little tricks that Heather used to do with things. She used to create these games. So as a neurophysio, you create like these games, and really it's actually it's an objective measure for them. So I didn't really realize that it was actually like an actual
thing. You're being tested.
And she's testing me, but I didn't know that.
Wow.
It's like little things.
Clever.
Like we've got the Maori peg test. I thought it was just to help me with like picking up things and putting them in. But secretly she had been timing me.
Brilliant.
She had made it basically, she made a lot of things, because I'm very I love my sports. So she made a lot of things into games, like playing the Wii. You can be as creative as you like as a neurophysio just to get that function back. Yeah. And you learn basically all the main three, which is cardio, musculoskeletal, and neuro. You always remember the principles of all three. However, effectively, when you come out of uni, you kind of decide where you really want to kind of drop down, or like basically
dig down. And
so I obviously mine is obviously neuro. I do have MSK, and I do like that as well. And most people do musculoskeletal. That's like your normal sport physio that everybody knows about. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my interest is always going to be neuro, just purely from an empathetic point of view.
Yeah, having been on the inside.
That rewarding feeling of being able to help someone get from A to B, and just being a part of their journey with them.
Yep.
Never ever wanted to be accredited with any of the, them getting there. It's because it's all them.
Yeah.
It's just being able to share that journey with them.
But it's amazing to be able to provide that framework for people to learn from and to grow from. And so I just want to, like, we'll wrap up in a few minutes, but I want you got this again.
Yes.
You went through this whole thing again in January this year.
No.
Or when did it start?
August 2019. So I was the special 1% of the entire world to get GBS twice.
Wow. That's insane, eh? Super unlucky.
Yeah. So But this time I had my wife.
Yes, and you
Stephen.
had your father-in-law.
Yeah, so,
your marvelous father-in-law.
You know, I can never be grateful and thankful enough for them, because this time at least we knew like what we were dealing with, and we could get
straight in.
You know, with my history and stuff, it was just a lot. It was still very tough, and I still kind of, you know, internalized a lot of things, and, you know, did that same thing that I did last time when I kind of pound myself in with regards to my, you know, challenging my masculinity and keeping things internalized and trying to get through it myself, instead of kind of feeling like I'm burdening everyone else with what's going on with me. But, you know, Claire and Stephen definitely helped me get through that. And I should apologize to my wife, because I know it's probably very, very, very tough on her.
Or anyone you love, and when you're going through hard times, you're always going to have moments where you didn't do what you wanted to do. When you look back afterwards, I mean, I've had times like with Mum where I've been like afterwards gone, "Ooh, shit, that wasn't good behaviour," you know, on my behalf. And where you think, "Oof," you know, but you're just in a desperate state of exhaustion and fatigue and the grind of it all, and you did things that you're not so proud of now, you know, in my case, where you think, you know, where you've yelled at her for something, or, you know, just gotten frustrated and gone, "Oh, for goodness sake," you know, and then you're like,
it's really funny. So this time is, as much as it was this time around, it was amazing. Effectively, Stephen was my Heather Gordon this time.
Yes.
So, you know, we went to the pools basically 3 times a week, and we went into the hospital gym twice a week.
Awesome.
And he was the one basically taking me through all of my exercise and whatnot. And, you know, Claire had to obviously go to work every day. But at the end of the day, she's like my biggest inspiration, the person that I aspire to be like, because she knows who she is.
Yeah,
I love her.
She sounds awesome. Got to meet this
lady. She always makes me want to be a better person, or just a better man.
Yeah.
She sees me, like she sees through me, if that makes sense. She sees me, she knows me better than myself.
Yeah. You can be real with her to, you know, you are who you are, and she loves you for all the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And isn't that what? It's a wonderful.
Well, she did see the good, bad, and the ugly when I was going through it.
I bet. Yeah, but you know, that's
all my cares of having to know. I couldn't actually. This time wasn't as bad. So I lost basically up to my elbows, into my knees this time. So I still had function in my, you know, basically my hips. It wasn't as bad, but it was still GBS.
And it's still very frightening.
It took like 6 to 7 months before I could actually.
Yes, you're still just coming out the other end of this.
Depending on myself, yeah.
Right. We're going to wrap up now, Futs. What's the message? You know, like there's a couple of good messages that have come out of today's thing. Like as a young Maori, you know, man, you faced us with amazing strength and the wisdom that you are beyond your years. I mean, what are you now? 29, 30?
29.
29.
Turning 30.
Yeah, turning 30. Wisdom beyond your years because of what you've been through, and that is going to help so many people in your career and what you do. And I'm very excited, as I know Stephen is, to see where you go in life, because you know the power and the mana that you already have now because of what you've experienced and your openness and your thing. I just think it's fantastic. And you're going to really be empowering lots of other people going through, and this is probably, you know, your life's calling, you know, is to help people and to do this and to share your story. You know, I think it's important. So this is hopefully the first time you'll share it, and won't be the last.
I guess my take-home message after everything that I've been through with everything and all the people that I met, and then, you know, I had my wife and Steve and everyone, inclusive my family. I think the biggest thing for me would be, I think I probably look at it as time of the kind of leader that I want to be like. So it's really, as I said before, it's being able to understand and having that perception of others, you know, never caring about the perception of myself. You know, you'll never, if you can understand the perception of others, you always have an empathetic point of view on life. You'll be able to actually stand in their shoes, and then try and understand what they're going through, instead of a sympathetic point in life, because at a point when you can become too sympathetic, you end up feeling sorry for them, and then that's not going to help them at all.
Yeah.
So I always rather
not
try to be empathetic
in
life than sympathetic.
Yep.
So that's the kind of leader that I want to be like, and that's what I want to try and.
You're well on your way to doing that, mate, and you have a lot of mana. You can see it; it just comes out through the screen, you know. So, thank you very much for sharing so openly and honestly today your journey, because it is empowering to other people who are going through difficult times. And this is, you know, part of the job of the show is to educate people around, you know, health and fitness and the latest science and the latest stuff. But also to make us understand, like, we're all human and we all have these feelings and we can get through tough times, strategies and tools to do that. And you obviously found a few along the way. So I wish you well, and, you know, be excited to see where you go, mate. And
thank you.
Any last words? Any last words before we sign off?
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata. He's not even Maori. That's not even Maori. Love it. Thanks. Thanks, much.